after talking about the asymptotes on that last video, I felt like I wanted to go back through the problems we've already done and just talk about those more simple asymptotes, just in case. So we drew them in here. It doesn't actually ask us to find them, but let's go ahead and do that. So our asymptotes are going to be two linear equations, one with a positive slope and one with a negative slope. The slope is always going to be negative, or plus or minus b over a, and that's because b is always the vertical distance or the rise, and a is always the horizontal or the run. Okay, and in this case, both of the lines go through the point at 0, 0 because the center of our hyperbola is at 0, 0. So the y-intercepts are 0, which make these a lot easier. So we have y equals positive 7 over square root of 32. Now technically
Your garage door just closed.
Not the best way to leave that. So we probably should leave it as 4 square root 2 and even rationalize it. My goodness, see, this is already getting too complicated. So it would be, maybe I should go ahead and write it that way first. Square root of 32, which means it would be 7 over square root, or 4 square root 2, sorry. And then, I don't know if you remember this little move, but we're going to need to do it in Math 1060, so we might as well say it now. To rationalize this, that means to get rid of the square root in the denominator, we multiply the top and the bottom by that square root. And what that accomplishes is we get 7 square root 2 on the top, and then square root of 2 times square root of 2 turns into 2, because it would be the square root of 4, which is 2, and then 2 times 4 is 8. So we have rationalized this. It doesn't even look like 7 over square root of 32 anymore. You wouldn't be able to recognize B and A at this point, but I know that when you get to upper level math classes like this, they always like things to be rationalized like this when you can, unless they specify otherwise. Okay, so that really should have been labeled M, because I wasn't actually finding the equations, I was simplifying our M, or slope value. So we're going to go 7 square root 2 over 8x, and there's no y-intercept because it's not no y-intercept, but it's at 0, so we don't write the 0. And then negative 7 square root 2 over 8x, and we've got our positive equation and our negative equation for our asymptotes. I meant for this to be in green, but when I grabbed the green, it did not switch my pen color. So let's just do that so that it matches our green asymptotes. Maybe you can make that connection a little better right there. Okay, let's move on to our next question. This is just a mess. Ah, that's why, because it has that Y underneath it when I was really just talking about slope. Okay, let's go on to the next one and look at those asymptotes. So again, B is 2 and A is 6. So these asymptotes would be, and they're going through 0, 0 again. I can sketch them in here if that's helpful. But they would just be at, make sure I'm labeling them, y equals, so B over A, right? B is 2, A is 6. So 2 over 6 would be 1/3. So 1/3 x, and y equals negative 1/3 x. So in case you're not sure how I did that, your slope would be, so we've got this point right here, we'll make our box, our asymptote's going through here, so our rise is 2 and our run is 6, but it's really just 1 over 3 because 2 over 6 reduces to 1 over 3. So that would be, oops, I didn't write 6, I wrote 3. So slope B over A would be 2 over 6, which is 1/3, and that's where I got that slope for the asymptotes. Alright, let's go to another problem. Find the equation of the hyperbola with asymptotes plus or minus 2x and vertices plus or minus 5, 0. Graph is not required but may be helpful. We just barely learned about our center not being at 0, 0. But based on the fact that these asymptotes do not have a y-intercept on them, they just have a slope of 2, and the fact that the vertices are symmetric about the origin, I can already tell you that the center of our graph is at 0, 0, which is convenient. So we've got our center and our vertices at 5, 0 and negative 5, 0. And then here's where the asymptotes are going to come in. So if the slope is 2, that would be 2 over 1. So I'm going to start my asymptote right here in the center, and I'm going to go up 2 over 1, and then continue that pattern, up 2 over 1. So there's where my asymptote is going. I didn't mean to start a new one, I'm just going to drag that corner. So down to left 1 continues that same slope, right? And then it's going to be the same in this direction. So up 2 over 1 this way, and then down 2 over 1 that way. Got it? So there's where our asymptotes should be. Okay, now the reason that's really important to know is that just because our slope is 2 over 1 doesn't mean that our box is going to be 2 by 1, because obviously the vertices are at 5. So in order for us to get that same slope with our vertices at 5, the other direction, the b direction, is going to have to go up to 10, so that we have that slope of 2, or 10 over 5 would be 2, right? So this would go clear up here. Eventually those asymptotes would cross through those corners. Again, bigger graph paper would have been good. So see how that box has that slope of 2 over 1, but it goes through those vertices at 5 and negative 5. So our vertices are right here. So our slope of 2 over 1 in this case is going to have to be proportional to that. So since we had a 5 in the a direction, because a equals 5, that means in order to figure this number out up here, these would need to be proportional, and therefore that number right there, I guess that's b. I could just call it b instead of x. So since this is b over a, right, and a is 5, so we're finding b, so cross multiply, b would be 10. So there we found our a and b. This does not ask us to find foci at all. We don't even have to do the graph. All we need is the equation. I think we've got everything we need. What direction is this one going? It's horizontal, because the vertices are on the x-axis, which is also our so-called the transverse axis. I'm simply forgetting the name. So our conjugate axis would be vertical. So we start with x squared. We don't need an h and k because it's a 0, 0. So x squared over a squared minus y squared over 10 squared equals 1. So that gives us a final answer of x squared over 25 minus y squared over 100 equals 1.